Good evening and welcome to our second annual Evening of Hope program. My name is Amber Smithson and I'm the Director of Business Development at Bakersfield Behavioral Healthcare Hospital. In 2020, we decided to create an Evening of Hope event. And when we first created it, we had hoped that it would be a live and in-person event. But of course, due to the pandemic, we moved it to a virtual Facebook Live event. And this year, even though we could have possibly made it a live event, we realized we wanted to partner with KGET 17 so that we would be able to reach more individuals with this amazing message and Evening of Hope. This evening's event was born in light of September being Suicide Awareness Month, and our hope is to bring about education, awareness, and hope to our community. Throughout this evening's program, you will hear from Ellen, the creator of S.A.L.T, Save a Life Today, an amazing local nonprofit that truly helps support those affected by suicide. You will hear from the Jason Foundation, a national nonprofit organization that helps provide free educational materials to schools, churches, first responders, and others that work very closely with our youth. You will hear from the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention and other great and wonderful agencies. We will be sharing submitted short stories and poems from our community, as well as sharing with you some meaningful answers to questions we pose to our own staff about mental health and hope. This evening, you will learn a lot of statistics surrounding suicide and how it affects us all. This is truly a silent epidemic that knows no boundaries. We hope that this evening brings you the courage to speak up if you or someone you know is struggling. We hope it brings you the knowledge to make the decisions you need in order to make that first step. And above all, I hope that this evening brings you hope to know that you're not alone. It's okay not to be okay. And that we are here to support you because we care.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Chin, and I'm the CEO of Bakersfield Behavioral Healthcare Hospital. As the only privately owned psychiatric and medical detox facility in the Kern County area, we understand our responsibility in providing resources, education, and vital services to all. Tonight, we are proud to bring you our second annual Evening of Hope program, an evening dedicated to the education, awareness, and advocacy surrounding suicide prevention. We are thrilled to be partnered with local and national agencies whose sole purpose is to bring about awareness and prevention to the silent epidemic that affects all ages, genders, and ethnic backgrounds. We understand that having conversations with our friends and loved ones about a topic as sensitive as suicide can be difficult, but I want to personally urge you to please speak up and seek help if you feel like a loved one might be in danger. You may encounter some initial frustration or even resentment from your loved one, but at the end of the day, their safety, I know, is the most important to you. I want to thank everyone who joined us this evening to create something special and educational for our community. And to my community, I thank you for taking the time out to view this important program. Please remember that it's okay not to be okay, and it's okay to ask for help. Bbhh is always here, and we care. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ellen Eggert, and I am the founder and president of Save a Life Today S.A.L.T. We are the only nonprofit in Kern County that is dedicated to reducing the rate of suicide in Kern County and assisting those who are bereaved by suicide. We kind of had a rough year last year with COVID, but we are here. And everybody who is on our board has lost somebody to suicide, so we get it. Some of us are also suicide attempt survivors. So we know that suicide is a different ballgame, but we also know that as a community, if we become suicide aware, learn the warning signs, aren't afraid to talk about suicide and ask about suicide, we can help the suicide rate go down in Kern County. Now, most people think that during COVID that the rates went through the roof, and that's not true. Actually, in the United States, we had about a little more than 3,000 less suicides in 2020 than 2019. In Kern County, we had 8 less. So how does that make sense? Well, there's lots of theories. Some people say it's because people were supporting each other more than they normally do, but we don't know why. And we had, again, 128 suicides last year, but in my mind, 1 suicide is too many. So at Save a Life Today SALT, we offer lots of literature on how to prevent. We talk about training. We support those who've lost loved ones to suicide because of the stigma and taboo associated with suicide. Many people lose friends through this loss process. So we educate and we refer people. Kern Behavioral Health, that's my day job. I run the crisis hotline. We refer people to the hotline, and we want everyone to know between SALT and Kern BHRS, there is help and hope. You are not alone. So if you want to learn the warning signs, if you want to get trained, you can call the crisis hotline at 800-991-5272, and we will come to you wherever you are. Because again, it's one of the most preventable causes of death. If we're suicide aware, if we're not afraid to talk about suicide. And I have to add, most people always say to me, I can't ask because I'll give them the idea. That is not true. It's never been true. If someone is at that point, they're at that point. What we've learned is people want you to ask them about suicide. If you ask in a caring, non-judgmental way, you think they're at risk, you may have to ask more than once, but they want to tell you, because this is what we know about suicide. It's not necessarily about death. It's about unbearable pain. And caring for people, seeing, oh my gosh, they're showing these signs. What should I do? Ask about suicide. If someone says yes, you call the hotline and they can set you up and help you help that person. You don't have to solve all their problems. Just ask that question. So SALT works hand in hand. NAMI is a big sponsor of ours. Bakersfield Behavioral Healthcare Hospital is a sponsor of ours. We're actually having, we had our Stump Out Suicide Walk on September 11th of this year. And thank you, Bbhh. You were one of our sponsors. And it was a healing place for all of us to get together, those who've lost loved ones, those who've attempted, and to be there to support each other. So Save a Life Today SALT is alive and well. If you want to get involved, feel free to call me, 412-2721. If you have questions about suicide, we have a Facebook page, we have a webpage, saltkc.org, and we got to get involved. We have to stop assuming that suicide prevention is Bakersfield Behavioral Healthcare's business or Kern Behavioral Health and Recovery Services. Suicide prevention is everybody's business. And many of us think, oh, that won't happen to someone I know or I love and care about. Again, suicide does not discriminate. I ask people, so what does the typical suicidal person look like? You and me. But again, there is help and hope. That stigma associated with suicide stops many people asking for help. And we know that caring people asking in a non-judgmental way can save lives, but we have to reduce the stigma associated with mental illness and suicide. We all think you have to have a mental illness to die by suicide. That's not true. Only about 52% of the people who die by suicide have a diagnosable mental illness. We know substance use disorder can add to that. We know, especially alcohol. But learning the warning signs, someone's giving things away, they're isolating, there's many more, and we can teach you that. So, and that's my day job, Kern Behavioral Health, but know that there's help available. If you need immediate help, call the hotline. You can go through Kern Behavioral Health and get to, or straight to Bakersfield Behavioral Healthcare Hospital, who's helped so many people. So I thank you for letting me speak on this, and I share, I've lost 4 family members, 2 brothers and 2 cousins to suicide, and there's no shame there because I didn't know and my family didn't know what we didn't know, but we don't want any other family to go through that. And one way to do that is to learn the warning signs and talk about suicide. One more thing, I have many people, I said earlier, about if I ask somebody, I'll give them the idea. I talk to parents and ask them, have you talked to your kids about drugs and alcohol? And they say, oh yeah. And I say, but they didn't go out and use after you asked them, correct? And it's the same with suicide. If your teen or anybody you know knows they can talk to you about suicide without judgment, they'll more than likely, hopefully, come to you. So put it out there and let people know that you're a safe person to talk to. And we know that adolescent suicide went up a little, not in Kern County, but it did go up a little during the pandemic. But we know that suicide attempts for adolescents went through the roof. And that's a whole thing we're all trying to figure out why that was, except we know they're social and they couldn't be social. So anybody can be at risk. And again, I thank you for listening. And if you want help, you want training, please get a hold of me. Thank you so much.
Last year, for our Evening of Hope, we featured an art contest. This year, we wanted to do something a little bit different, so we have a poetry contest. We selected 5 poems that will be featured throughout this evening's program. We also, as an honorable mention, chose a short story, but due to time constraints, we're going to post that one on our website. We hope you enjoy.
It is my pleasure to read to you one of our poetry submissions. This is an untitled poem, and it is by Anonymous. Thoughts somehow leave one's senses in the midst of chaos, overwhelming and oftentimes taking over each and every single decision that we would prefer not to occur or even to think about for that matter. The strange development of possibility, the feelings of despair somehow begin to subside, to change, to grow into something stronger and oftentimes more beautiful. To hope is to live, and to have something to strive for. The belief in something better than that mundane and slightly arbitrary ritual we all engage in. Hope is enjoying the scenery while driving around a corner much faster than we probably should. Hope is the ability to transcend beyond our own darkness and our own fears with the simple belief that things can get better, but all the while living life and not just being a part of it.
If you've been affected by suicide, you're not alone. Suicide is a leading cause of death that affects millions each year. In most cases, it happens when stressful life events overload the coping abilities of someone suffering from a mental health condition. And the most common condition associated with suicide is depression, an illness that goes undiagnosed or untreated far too often. But the research is clear. Suicide is preventable if we work together. The American Foundation for Suicide Prevention has set a bold goal to reduce the annual suicide rate 20% by 2025. We can save tens of thousands of lives, but we need the help of everyday heroes like you. People have suffered in silence for too long, and too many families have had to weather their losses alone. You can change that. We need you to be the voice for suicide prevention, and it can be as simple as reaching out to a friend, because talk saves lives. If you're having thoughts of suicide, or if you're concerned about someone else, assume you are the only one who will reach out. You can also join hundreds of thousands across the country for our Out of the Darkness community walks, and raise awareness of suicide within your community. Together, we'll bring hope to those affected by suicide, and raise awareness to save lives. Learn how you can fight suicide. Visit afsp.org today.
Suicide and depression are not easy things to talk about.
The Out of the Darkness community walk helps you start the conversation.
It's a conversation we need to have.
The Out of the Darkness walks are a very, very welcoming place.
Even if this is your first time, you will find a community that's welcoming. It's a family.
We're all here for each other.
It's a healing community, and that's what I love about it.
I come back because I feel supported.
The Out of the Darkness community walk shows you that you're not alone.
It brings you out of the darkness.
It gives me hope to be a part of this community.
There's hope, and you don't have to do it alone.
You have to have hope.
AFSP helped me, and I am here to help anyone else that needs it.
Everyone should come to an Out of the Darkness community walk.
Walk with us.
Walk with us.
You belong here.
You can bring hope to others and to yourself.
Register today.
Register today.
Register today at afsp.org/walk.
Each year,
the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention
brings people affected by suicide together
for its Out of the Darkness community walks.
All across the country,
the community walks raise awareness
and funds to fight suicide,
a leading cause of death in the United States,
and gives those who attend a chance to connect with others,
to know they are not alone.
They're not alone. Even while distanced for safety this past year,
the Out of the Darkness community stayed connected
and found creative ways to show up for each other and the cause.
Whether you're walking in memory or in support of a loved one,
or making the community walks part of your own mental health journey, we want you to join us.
To fight suicide.
Together.
We can save lives.
We can save lives.
Learn how you can get involved
and join this resilient, caring community
at afsp.org/walk.
At Bakersfield Behavioral Healthcare Hospital, your mental health matters, and you deserve quality care. We believe that there should be no shame or fear in seeking help for your mental health. We have many levels of care, including inpatient, outpatient, telehealth, and wraparound services, because we believe you should not have to struggle with what comes next. Take your next step with Bakersfield Behavioral Healthcare Hospital, because you matter and we care.
It is my pleasure to read one of our poetry submissions by Anonymous, also untitled. My kids bring me hope. They're the reason my heart has slope. If I could be with them forever, every day I would tie rope. I never give up when my kids tell me nope, so they know hope comes from Mom. Another poetry submission by an anonymous writer titled Hope. Hope you hear. Hope your head is clear. Hope you don't fear. After today, I hope you will wipe every tear. Hope you don't let go.
We had some staff pre-record some answers to some questions surrounding mental health and hope. We really hope that you'll enjoy hearing what they do for their mental health and why it's so important to them.
What I do is I like to crochet, reading a book, go to the gym and try to exercise.
I'm married, and so my husband and I do a lot of things together, and we have grandkids that we like to, on our days off, that we like to take to the movies or just enjoy time with them.
I usually go ahead and just hang out with family, and I'll go ahead and have a good time with them. If I want to kind of do a solo activity, I'll go ahead and just do my hobbies, read, listen to music, basically just kind of work on myself a little bit, but that's usually what I do.
To take care of my mental health, I definitely go shopping, but I stay within my budget, so I never second guess about getting a new pair of shoes, and also spending time with people I love to make sure that I feel supported and loved in every direction that I go in.
To all the parents who have full schedules and full hands. To all those who served our country today, yesterday, or a decade ago, there is support. You are not alone. Stepping Stones is here to help you keep your health a priority. It's time to take a moment for you, because you matter, and we care. We are thrilled that we have two presentations from the Jason Foundation this evening. The Jason Foundation is a national, nonprofit organization that focuses on education surrounding suicide prevention and awareness for our youth. As a Jason Foundation representative for our hospital, I am excited that we can partner with them and offer these educational materials for free. If you or your organization would like more information on how to obtain these free materials from the Jason Foundation, head over to our website at bakersfieldbehavioral.com, or stay tuned to the end of this program as we will have the resources listed there. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Brett Marciel, and I am the Chief Communications Officer at the Jason Foundation. We are dedicated to the awareness and prevention of youth and young adult suicide. This is accomplished through a series of programs that include awareness initiatives for all ages, curriculum for youth, and seminars for parents, teachers, and the community. The Jason Foundation is proud to be recognized as one of the national leaders in suicide prevention. We are elated to be a part of Bakersfield Behavioral Healthcare Hospital's second annual Evening of Hope. The Jason Foundation has been affiliated with Bakersfield Behavioral since 2017, and their affiliate office provides the community with JFI's programs and resources at no cost. We are extremely proud of all we have been able to accomplish in our partnership and look forward to the many great opportunities that lie ahead. Suicide is the second leading cause of death for California youth aged 10 to 24. On average, we lose a young person to suicide in this age group every 17 hours within the state. The Youth Risk Behavioral Survey provides a more in-depth look regarding the suicidal ideation of high school youth in California. Over 1 out of every 3 young people reported experiencing the feeling of hopelessness and sadness for a constant period of 2 weeks or greater during the past 12 months. This question is not just addressing depression, but could be the definition of clinical depression, something that would require professional help, counseling, or possibly medication. Clinical depression is not something that you can just pull yourself out of. Over 1 out of 4 California high school youth said that they had seriously considered suicide in the past 12 months. Over 23% said that they had made a plan to attempt suicide the previous year. At this point, we move from a time of concern when someone is considering suicide to a time of crisis. If there is no intervening factor, at this stage, an attempt is likely to happen. Finally, the last question on the survey is, have you attempted suicide 1 or more times in the past 12 months? Over 1 out of every 11 California high schoolers said yes to this question. Over 1 out of 11. This equates to almost 180,000 high school youth in the state making an attempt over the course of a year, or 490 per day. This number is tragically astronomical. The good news is that suicide is preventable. Many times, an individual considering suicide exhibits some sign of their intentions, either verbally or behaviorally. What are the signs that we need to be watching for? Depression is one of the leading causes of suicide attempts across all ages, often exhibited in out-of-character behaviors. This could be abrupt changes in attendance, deteriorating academic performance, sudden changes in appearance, This could possibly be changed relationships with classmates. We sometimes see an increased irritability or aggressiveness, sometimes a despairing attitude. Another sign to be concerned about is suicidal threats. This could be, "I'd be better off dead," or "I won't be bothering you much longer. I'm going to kill myself." Suicide threats are not always verbal though, and they can come in the form of actions. Another warning sign to look out for is a lack of interest. You should be concerned if a friend suddenly starts to lose interest in sports or hobbies that they used to enjoy participating in. Another sign is preoccupation with death and suicide. This could be in essays and writings about death, could be in poems about death. Sometimes we see this in artwork or drawings that are depicting death or suicide. We need to be cognizant of social media posts and comments as well. Is this person talking a lot about dying or death? Previous suicide attempts. Research has shown that boys with a previous suicide attempt have a 30-fold increase in suicide risk compared to boys that have not attempted suicide. Girls with previous suicide attempts have a 3-fold increase in suicide risk. Final arrangements. Once the decision has been made to end their life, some young people begin making final arrangements. This could be identified by putting one's affairs in order or saying goodbye to family and friends. So what do we need to do if we suspect a young person is thinking about suicide? We need to start by asking them if they are thinking about killing themselves. We have to be ready to ask the tough questions. Don't be afraid to ask a student or a young person if he or she is considering suicide or other self-destructive acts. Asking someone if they are contemplating self-harm or suicide will not increase their risk. We need to listen without judging and show that we care. Stay with that person or make sure they're in a secure place with another caring person. If you are ever in doubt, get professional help immediately. I would like to thank Bakersfield Behavioral Healthcare Hospital for the opportunity to share more about our mission. Again, all programs and resources are available to the public at no cost, thanks to our partnership with Bakersfield Behavioral. You can find more information on our website at jasonfoundation.com. Thank you.
It is my pleasure to read to you another poem submission. This is entitled Seeds of Intent by Napoleon. Do not plant seeds of self-doubt, where only flowers of hope can sprout. A valley cannot determine the height of the next peak. The peak does not determine the depths of its valleys. In the middle lies ambiguity, which only knows lies. What's the worst that could happen? Seedlings of deceit may have already been planted, but for what it's worth, that flower only blooms once in a blue moon. The flowers of hope are bountiful and beautiful. With water and the right weather, see what it could turn into. The seeds of hope lie inside of you.
This one is titled Hang On, Personal Endurance. This was written by Debbie Santiago, 61 years old, retired Wildland Fire Battalion Chief for 26 years. Hope. I find the complexity of the word hope so deep that without knowing hope, how could any of us personally endure life? Hope works more like all this greatness of our life experiences that hold us like a seatbelt while riding on the grand roller coaster of our life choices and our big waves ridden. Wow. Just never quit. Hope is that golden quality feeling of every human being deserves to have and hold in this world. To know and feel hope work. Hope heals trauma, injury. Hope is the mental health word for love, goodness. Without hanging on to the belief of hope work, without seeing each other, seeing self, personally enduring over and over throughout our lives, the world can seem dark. Without hope, no one can share amazing self-happiness. Learning through the good and the not-so-good times. Understand our true behavior comes from hurt. There is no community connection without hope. Hope takes the wholeness of sharing, not shading, of seeing that failure is success. For if we do not try, if we shut down, how do we know the great taste of hope? If you don't hope, I can't hope. We can't hope together. How would that be, no hope? No you, no me, no us. We all got to hang on and personally endure hope. See the beauty. Allow the tough falls. Grab onto great hope in this wonderful world that we all just strive to be. Well, we hope. Hope is hanging on in life with personal endurance.
Taking care of my mental health is very important. I have to, of course, take care of myself to be able to come to work and take care of my patients. So it's definitely very important just to be sane and be able to come to work and give it my all. Helping my patients is my number one goal, making sure that my patients are taken care of.
Taking care of your health, mental health is important just because on a day-to-day basis, that's part of your life and that's what gets you through. So if you don't focus on that and you focus on whatever's stressing you out or the anxiety that you have in your life, it just overwhelms you. So taking care of your mental health is very important so that you can rest, complete the stuff that you are on task with, and just be happy in life in general.
Because I have a future, I have nieces that look up to me. I have to treat myself as number one. I am a survivor. I've lost 2 loved ones to suicide, and I live to live for them.
We are now joined with Randy Beasley, who is the director of our outpatient program at Bakersfield Behavioral, and the name of that outpatient program is Stepping Stones. Randy, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So let's start off with getting to know you a little bit. So tell me a little bit about yourself and what you were doing prior to joining our wonderful family.
Sure. So I started my career in a bit of nonprofit and then some behavioral modification, RTC program, and so some residential programs, things of that nature, and worked with adults with developmental disabilities and LA County, kind of intensive programs, and some forensic work out here in Kern County, and now I'm here.
Well, that's wonderful. I know that we are thrilled to have you. You have been a great addition to the Bbhh family, and so from me, thank you so much for coming aboard.
It's great to be here. It's great to be here.
So I thought, you know, what better person to talk to about outpatient and what Stepping Stones looks like. through BBHH, what the different programs are that we have, how it can benefit somebody, and well, let's just start there. How about that?
Sure. So we run a number of different programs here. So we have our intensive outpatient program, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's intensive services, so it's 3 days a week, 3 groups per day. So you're essentially doing 9 groups per week. And we do that on-site as well as remotely, so we can do it via telehealth. We also offer we call it PHP, or a partial hospitalization program, which is 5 days a week, 4 groups per day. So we're running about 20 groups for that program. And we're looking to expand the program, and so over the next several months, adding hopefully an adolescent component to this. And then we also offer a chemical dependency program for substance use, and that's also in the IOP format, so 3 days a week, 3 groups per day. And that's currently what we're working on.
Well, that's wonderful. Tell me a little bit about what the benefit is. So I know that some individuals feel like their options are either therapy, which is maybe once a month if they're lucky right now, or hospitalization.
Sure.
Right? So what's the benefit of utilizing one of our IOP or PHP services?
Yeah, great question. So, I mean, the huge benefit is essentially that we can potentially avoid hospitalization. And so this kind of meets a need where you're doing more than just a weekly therapy session, or typically, you're right, it's usually once a month. If you're lucky, some people that I'm working with, before this, that was once every 90 days. And so, the struggle to find a therapist and receive services, it's real here in Kern County for sure. And so this kind of bridges that gap between not having enough services, but being able to avoid kind of ended up in a inpatient setting for hospitalization. So the focus would be build some coping skills. It's again intensive services, intended to be kind of short term. So most people are here for under 30 days. So 30 to 60 days is a pretty average kind of stay for IOP or PHP, and it's intended to kind of get enough skills and foster enough support so that you don't need to go inpatient.
Right, and I know that also there's some additional benefits to being able to utilize our outpatient program, such as the access to a psychiatrist.
Sure.
Right, who would be able to help with medication management, a therapist, different things of that nature. So that's also a great benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are built into the program. So this model, orbits around a psychiatrist is essentially the person who's kind of managing treatment, and so a psychiatric evaluation is something that you can get within the first week with either of these programs, versus a typical wait list for a psychiatrist here is going to be 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, maybe more. So yeah, there's a ton of benefit with that.
Yeah, and also I want to kind of talk about the benefits of sometimes somebody's in crisis and outpatient is just not going to be the level of care that they need. They're going to need something more intensive. Maybe somebody is struggling with active thoughts of suicide, and their depression is something more than they can manage. And so then they do end up hospitalized, say, in our facility. However, we do offer that wraparound services, right? So outpatient just isn't for somebody coming in off the street, but it's for somebody stepping down out of inpatient.
Sure.
So can you talk to me a little bit about why it's so important to step down into an outpatient setting after you've been hospitalized?
Yeah, great question and good point. I think IOP, PHPs, it's a unique service in that we do kind of, often have patients that will come in on the front end before they end up with an inpatient hospitalization, and then we can also kind of, catch them on the back end as well. The great thing with PHP and IOP is that we also still work, if you have an individual therapist, you can keep your individual therapist, and we essentially become an ancillary support, so we're just there in addition to services that you have. Really what this does is it makes service kind of seamless, right? So on the front end, they're getting treatment before they head in. We're maintaining safety, right, through this really, these crises moments, and then we're there to, to help kind of pick up the pieces and reconnect with supports and get, service going as soon as they're out of an inpatient setting. And so it really makes the whole process pretty seamless of, kind of moving through. If there needs to be, hey, this is just not manageable in an outpatient setting, then we can move into inpatient, stay connected, and then pick right back up.
Yeah. Well, and I know that we also work very much in tune and in line with many of the outside providers, because I know, like you said, this can be in conjunction with your therapist that you're seeing outside on a regular basis. But I know that your team also works really hard to, if somebody's stepping down from inpatient into outpatient, and then also then setting them up with those resources if they don't have them, right? And I think that's important for people to know as well, is if you're stepping down from inpatient into outpatient, once you're completed, if you will, with your outpatient programming, it's not like we say, okay, have a nice day, right? It's definitely that soft handoff and making sure that that person is ultimately getting that support that they need in the community, whatever that may be, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's really what it's intended to be, is something that comes alongside other service providers. This is not intended to be, typically a long-term thing. Right. And so we really are a bit of a stopgap to fill in this space where there is, more than just what an outpatient service provider can offer, and at the same time, we're not quite to the level of needing to be inpatient.
Right. Well, one of the other things that I wanted to talk to you about is, not only is September Suicide Awareness, but it's also Recovery Month, right? So I thought it would be important that we talk a little bit about recovery and how we can help individuals in our community, not only with mental health, but also their recovery process. And I know that we do have a medical detox facility here inside our hospital, but then you also offer and provide CD IOP, correct?
Correct.
So maybe you can talk to us a little bit about what that looks like, and if I'm coming in and I'm doing something for my recovery, are we going to address the whole picture, right? Are we going to address my recovery and mental health? What does that kind of look like?
Yeah, great question. It's something that's going to be very nuanced, and so it'll be case by case, which I think is the only way that you're going to do that well. So we have, chemical dependency counselors, so actual certified dependency counselors here on staff. We also have physicians that will do prescriptions for medicated assisted treatment, for detox. And so it really is kind of about, doing a thorough assessment of what are the needs, and making sure that we move through that detox phase safely, and that we stay connected, and then kind of, moving again with that kind of warm handoff into a program where there's intensive services that we can then link them with and provide any kind of medicated assisted treatment along the way, in conjunction with not just chemical dependency counseling, but also with with a mental health component. It's very rare that I see that these are that there's not some kind of co-occurring, that these things are they don't overlap or they're not connected, and so really just being conscientious of that, and then providing treatment that's going to be specific and individual.
Absolutely. So I guess the important question is, okay, so I'm in need of help. Is there a big wait list in our outpatient, and who do I contact?
Yeah, so you can call here directly. Currently, we don't have a big wait list. Okay. It is a process that we move through for admissions. We are certainly willing to, if somebody's in a bit of a crisis, then we can, we'll do what we need to do in order to get people connected and get services rolling. And so I wouldn't say that there's it's, what's great with this program right now is that it isn't a big wait list. And we can still be responsive, and so it's I think we actually do that really well, relative to a lot of other places that I've seen, and so I think it's one of our many strengths, that we can be really responsive and tailor treatment and kind of meet people where they're at.
Absolutely, because we all know that when somebody is willing to get the help, we need to really be reactive to that, right?
Yep.
We need to get right on that and get those individuals the help that they're willing to get at that moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just so that everybody knows, contact information can be found at the bottom of your screen as you see, and then we will also have a resource page that will link you to not only these amazing programs but other local resources here in town. If you are needing help, please go get help. Do what you need to do to make sure that you're taking care of your mental health and your recovery needs. To end things, I've been kind of asking people a question, and I'll just kind of ask you. The title of this whole program is Evening of Hope, right? So when you think of the word hope, what does hope mean to you as it pertains to recovery, or as it pertains to mental health, or how it pertains to you and your family?
Yeah, I think hope, if I were to distill it in that instance here, would be that there's always possibility for change.
Yeah.
That there's always possibility for positive change, and that we can change, and things will change, and we have the capacity to grow out of who we currently are, and where we currently find ourselves, and the places that we come from. And so there is always the possibility for change.
Absolutely. I love it. Well, Randy, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Thank you for the wealth of information that you've been able to share with us.
That's my pleasure.
All right. Thank you.
Next, we're going to hear from Robin, the founder of Run for Recovery. We're going to talk a little bit about the fundraising event we have coming up and how that is so vital to benefiting our community.
I'm the Director of Chemical Dependency Services here at Charter Oak Hospital in Covina, California. I started here 14 years ago, and immediately noticed that there was quite a surge of individuals who were coming for services and regretfully were discharged without a solid, safe discharge plan. I really just had sort of an aha moment as I sat at my desk and saw this parade of people that were discharging without a safe home environment, maybe drug-using spouse or addicted family members, and no sobriety in the home. So I again thought, what am I doing? At the time, I had a very close friend who was also in recovery, and I advised him, I made him a silly bet of $1,000 that I could run 20 miles a day for 10 days, a total of 200 miles down the coast. And that $1,000, I asked him to donate to the Puente House Foundation for scholarships for people coming out of our program. He took the bet. I did run the 20 miles a day for 10 days. That first year, there was a lot of buzz around that, and we raised $3,200, all went to the Puente House Foundation, that again provides scholarships for men and women who are leaving treatment without safe housing arrangements. So it just grew from there. Even the next year they were saying, where's Robin going to run this year? I kind of went down the coast to different legs of the coast. I think one of the hardest journeys I went was through Big Sur on year 3. But it grew from there. This past year, along with a few friends in recovery, we were able to raise quite a bit of funds for the scholarship. I believe it was over $100,000, which is just so heartwarming for me and the families who are in receipt of those funds through the Puente House Foundation. It's also grown in respect to not just the Puente Houses. The Puente Houses, they are able to feed those funds into other sober livings to assist folks who are leaving treatment, again, without a safe and sober environment. So Bakersfield has been a wonderful recipient of the scholarship. They've also received us in a really beautiful way. We come through Bakersfield. This would be the second year that we've come through, and they have signs and banners. We've also had news crews there to take interviews from the team, the Run for Recovery team. And we have been able to provide scholarships through the Amethyst House, It's a beautiful all-women's house. They have helped many people who are financially challenged, who really have a heart and motivation for recovery, but regretfully can't sustain their financial abilities to get off their feet. Amethyst House isn't quick to discharge people just for funds, so they want to keep folks with this incredible heart and the client's motivation to encourage them to get positions and jobs. www.runforrecovery.com. You can see the grassroots report of and story behind what we do every year. Last year we ran 1,000 miles from Oregon to Covina. We did it on elliptical bikes. You'll see that on the website as well. And this year we're doing about 600. We're coming from Sober Living, Oregon again, and going to the Puente House.
To all the parents who have full schedules and full hands. To all those who served our country today, yesterday, or a decade ago, there is support. You are not alone. Stepping Stones is here to help you keep your health a priority. It's time to take a moment for you, because you matter, and we care.
Hope for me, it just means knowing that something else is on the horizon. Something else better is always on the horizon. And that's kind of how I see it for the future too. I think we can hope for all sorts of great things, not just for ourselves, but for all the people. I would just like to think that given where we are today, that there's still room for even better things tomorrow.
Hope is important to me because hope signifies positivity for the future. So I have hope that my kids will grow up and be independent and live good, productive lives. I have hope for my relationships, hope for my own future. And I think it's very important to focus on positivity rather than negativity. There's enough things in this world that are negative and terrible, and there's enough things that divide us. And I think hope is very important for all of us to focus on for our future.
Hi, my name is Brett Marciel, and I'm the Chief Communications Officer at the Jason Foundation. We are dedicated to the awareness and prevention of youth and young adult suicide. This is accomplished through a series of programs that include awareness initiatives for all ages, curriculum for youth, and seminars for parents, teachers, and the community. The Jason Foundation is proud to be recognized as one of the national leaders in suicide prevention. We are elated to be a part of Bakersfield Behavioral Healthcare Hospital's second annual Evening of Hope. The Jason Foundation has been affiliated with Bakersfield Behavioral since 2017, and their affiliate office provides the community with JFI's programs and resources at no cost. We are extremely proud of all that we have been able to accomplish in our partnership and look forward to the many great opportunities that lie ahead. One of the programs that we offer is the First Responders Training Module. This module was developed specifically for first responders to educate them about the danger of youth suicide and suicide within their profession. It offers ways that they can be better aware when someone may need professional help, whether in their personal or professional life. First responders are more likely to die by suicide than in the line of duty. Police officers, firefighters, and EMS workers are more likely to suffer from PTSD than the general public. Researchers found that elevated levels of PTSD were associated with a higher likelihood of thinking about suicide and or having a history of suicide attempts. Suicide currently ranks as the third leading cause of death for ages 10 through 45 in California. During the pandemic, first responders have been working around the clock to ensure that our loved ones have the care they need. Especially now, it is imperative that we provide them with the resources necessary to care for themselves. First responders are routinely on the front lines of danger and the first on a scene of a traumatic incident. Many times, they are the ones tasked with assessing the situation and those involved. The mental toll that these situations can have on our first responders is immense. We need to be cognizant of the burden created by being a part of these distressing events on a daily basis. During the module, first responders will gain knowledge about the magnitude of the problem of youth suicide and suicide within that first responder community. They will learn some of the major signs of concern and elevated risk factors associated with suicidal thoughts. Finally, we detail some resources available to help depressed or suicidal youth, as well as depressed or suicidal members of the first responder community. The module contains interviews with current and former first responders. They share their take on the struggles that first responders have to manage, how it affects an individual, and what we can do to help promote mental well-being within the community. You can access this training online by visiting the Jason Foundation's website and looking for First Responders under the How to Get Involved tab at jasonfoundation.com. The module is also available on DVD for groups, and we can accommodate larger presentations virtually. I would like to thank Bakersfield Behavioral Healthcare Hospital for the opportunity to share more about our mission and one of our many programs that we have to offer. Again, all programs and resources are available to the public at no cost, thanks to our partnership with Bakersfield Behavioral. Thank you.
I would like to take this time to thank all of our participants that helped us to make tonight a great success. I would also like to thank KGET, who helped us to get this very important information out to our community. I would like to encourage everyone who is watching to share this information with their friends and family. We will be uploading tonight's entire program to our YouTube channel with a link that can be found on our website at bakersfieldbehavioral.com. At the end of this program, we will have a list of resources for our community, and I urge you all to please use them when you need to. Please share them when you need to. We have said it several times throughout this evening's event, but it's so important, I will say it again. It's okay not to be okay. You're not alone. There is help. There is hope. Bakersfield Behavioral is there for you because we truly care. Thank you.